Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Good morning. This is Stan coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. And today we're going to be discussing IP65. What comes next? Working with bad directors, boob safety, and the future of high school education. All on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers. Yes, today we have Stan, Steve, and me. And welcome everyone to episode 266. Do you think we're going to make it to episode 666?
I don't think we'll make it to episode 267.
We're not making the 267.
That show we can do our rendition of The Exorcist.
No, we could do our rendition of the Supreme Court. But that's politics.
Oh, no, don't go there. I'll bring the pea soup to 666.
Bring the pea soup. Does pea soup have something to do with the devil? Oh, of course. It was from the Exorcist.
Of course it does. Yeah, Linda Blair vomited up pea soup all over the priest. Don't you remember?
Love that. That was great.
So that means if the priest is coming, you should eat fried chicken.
I don't get that connection.
There you go.
But that's all right.
I don't get it either yet.
I've never had pea soup with fried
It's not
chicken.
as messy.
Oh, messy. Okay.
Pea soup's disgusting.
You know, not good pea soup. There's this pea soup place in the central coast of California. It's called Anderson's. They're famous for their pea soup. And this, normally I don't like pea soup, but this place is fantastic. So that being said.
Must it have a pea soup Nazi there, like from the Seinfeld
No,
episode?
they're very friendly there. They're very friendly.
Well, so was he.
No, he wasn't friendly. No soup for you. Come back 1 year. Anyway,
That's true.
Welcome everyone again to episode 266. And today we're starting off with a little bit of news. We're going to announce the Alice Quote competition winner. And there is none. No one got it.
Did somebody get it?
No one got it.
I didn't get it.
No one got it. And I'm really surprised because I gave out some hints. So that same quote will be embedded in this week's episode. So listen closely.
I'm going to be listening carefully.
Closely.
I'm going to be. I want to win.
It's going to come out of one of our mouths. All right. And it'll be between now and.
Well, where else did it come from?
I don't know. We could play an Alice Cooper song or something like that, but that's too easy. But you know, last week's, you had to listen to the whole show. You got to listen to the whole show to get this quote.
I think I got it.
You got it because I told you what it was.
You didn't.
I didn't? Oh, okay.
You have to tell me after the show.
Well, it's going to come out of one of our mouths. It may even come out of your mouth, Stan, without you knowing it. And then you know what happens when that happens? The duck flies in with the $50 bill on it.
The duck flies in with $50. And I'll have to get some mouthwash for saying it.
So maybe you guys and gals weren't motivated enough to really listen closely. So we're upping the ante. We're not going to give away one shot glass. We're going to give away two. So you can have matching, ready for dishwasher, Light Talk shot glasses. So it could be him and her and her, him and him, and you and your dog. It doesn't matter. You'll have matching shot glasses.
Day and day.
Day and day. Right. You can have those matching shot glasses and have a drink on us, or actually on yourself, because you won this crazy thing. All right, so listen carefully. It may happen. One other thing. Next week, we're going to be reviewing probably the most exciting product introduced this year in the lighting world. We're actually going to be talking about the return of the Cyberlight. On Friday, our friends at High End have invited me into LA to actually view the new Cyberlight and test it. And I will be telling you and our listeners all about it next week. So that's pretty exciting.
That's exciting. Because you know what? I'm designing 4 spaces right now, and they're going to have rep plots. And I need to think about the price point of that. Do you have any inklings yet?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. But it's LED powered. We do know that.
I know that. No, I've watched the video. I watched the release. I'm excited by it. But I've got some venues where that might be a substitute for me as opposed to a pan tilt fixture. And I could save the taxpayers some money and still give the users fantastic technology.
And skim 10% right off the top.
I may have to have them send me a sample. I may just have to do that.
So with that, Steve has our first question.
This is Angela in Tennessee, and she writes, so what comes next after LED in the concert world? So Angela's looking down the road here. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb. That's not much of a limb. I think it is our friends at Clay Pocky. And I think the whole industry is quietly and secretly taking a look at the Stelos. I think everyone's keeping an eye on this light, this kind of laser-based light, and they're seeing how Clay Pocky is going to develop that. Is it going to be bright enough? Is it going to be safe? Is it going to be trouble-free? Is it going to be easy to maintain? I think that might, if they're successful, that might be the next step after LED, certainly for moving lights. For static lights, I don't have a clue. Your guess is as good as mine. What do you guys want to see developed?
Well, see developed, or it's funny because I forgot about the silos, if I'm pronouncing it right, and now that you mentioned it, but I was thinking in the back of my mind, because I know that projectors are moving to laser-based sources, and I was looking at, sometimes we have to put them on balcony rails in spaces, and the fans are a real problem, or you've got to build the space for it, and I understand that the laser-based projectors don't need a fan. So yeah, I'm happy to see a laser-based light source, and but we're not really going to see a difference in light quality. Well, what would we get? I just to speculate. If it's a LED, if it's a laser source, can we do things we couldn't do before, like visually?
Well, I think they're arguing that they have a better color source.
Yeah, more coherent. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But the big question is, LEDs are cheap. Will this be cheap enough to compete? Because I know laser projectors are very expensive.
Yeah, right now they sure are. Yeah.
But that cost will come down. Yeah, it's like the $1,000 VCR that's now $25.
No, they're still VCRs.
Well, they're listing it at 20,000 hours, so it's not that much better than an LED.
That's damn sure. That's not very. I mean, outlast us. That's for sure.
I think it comes down to what it looks like on stage. I think it all comes down to what it looks like.
Yeah.
The output. I think maintenance. I think it all comes down to that. And if they can build a better mousetrap, we know people in the industry will buy it. We know the concert world will move in that direction.
Well, the interesting thing about laser, though, Steve mentioned color, and I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, because when a laser, does anybody know what laser stands for? Light amplification through simulated something. What I do want to say, though, about color is, generally speaking, lasers are extremely narrow band. You can have something at literally an individual nanometer. It's extremely pure. So that may really do have an impact on color. Depending on what kind of a laser source is this fixture.
Well, it says it right there. The laser source, safe, fully sealed module, a powerful engine, incredible array of colors in contrast to the subtractive mixing used with discharge lamps. Colored light beams as bright as a white light beam. It's got all the kind of stuff on board already that you expect it to have. And it gets, so who knows?
We gotta get one. Let's have Clay Pocky send us 2 of these to Light Talk Central in the swamps of Gainesville.
Do you hear that, guys?
And Stan, you do the testing.
I'll get my spectrometer out, and we'll see what they got.
And see how narrow that bandwidth is.
The other thing to look at when we're at LDI or anybody is, I bet you the Stylos is incredibly fast on color changing. I bet the color change speed is really fast.
Yeah, I bet it's nanoseconds. Yeah.
How fast do you need it?
I mean, everybody likes speed. It's why we're down to gobos that are the size of your thumbnail. The smaller the gobo, the smaller the aperture, the faster you can get the gobo in and get the gobo out.
Laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
Radiation. I had the R wrong. I got everything else I had right.
You didn't have emission.
You served up a casserole of nonsense when you started talking about...
That was the biggest casserole of nonsense I've ever heard. So
I did a little. Are you saying I did word salad?
You did a little word salad, but that's okay. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. So there you go.
Okay. Can I tell you? So when you're young, you have a very small library. And you have a very fast librarian who can run to the shelves, get the books, bring them back to the table, and you can get the answer. And when you're old, like me, you have a really big library, but the librarian, she's a little bit older. She's walking to the bookshelf. She's got to get a cup of coffee on the way. On the way back, she's going to the bathroom. But I got a lot more books.
That's good. So Denny in Idaho writes, this director keeps asking me to do shows for him, but he is horrible to work with and is a terrible director. How do I say no? Okay.
Pick a language.
No. I think we're talking about politics here.
You say, I don't think I have the right skills for this project. You need somebody with a different skill set.
That's like saying the show is interesting after the show sucked and your friend designed it.
He's asking, how do I say no, right?
Well, I think a lot of this depends on, are you friends with the person, how close you are, where you are in your career. There are designers that can really just say no, because they have other gigs. So Denny, maybe early in his career, saying no put the director off, and then all of a sudden, Denny is blackballed from the director's friends. I know that there have been directors who, not necessarily the ones I worked with, but other people talk poorly of them. And I have never found that to be very good form. No matter how ill-suited the person is for the professional theater world, I think bad-mouthing people always sets me off. I just don't like it, Because I have a feeling they're bad-mouthing me too. So, no, seriously, I just don't think it's cool, all right? So I think you come up with other gigs. I'd love to work with you, but I'm working, doing this, or I'm traveling there, I'm doing this. Yeah, it's a white lie. Did your parents ever talk to you guys about white lies? White lies are important.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes you don't tell the full truth to spare someone's feelings.
That's right, and I think this is the case. And after a while, after 2 or 3 shows, and, the way you said, no, I can't, then all of a sudden, this director is going to be asking other people. What do you all think? You think you should just say no?
So basically, the reason he wants to say no again, David, just for my...
is because he's horrible to work with, meaning he's probably mean or a jerk, and is a terrible director. So he's not a good artist, and he's just not fun to work with. Maybe he belittles people. Who knows?
I'll answer it very succinctly. Your health comes first, Denny.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's toxic, if you're breathing that air every day, it's not good for you. It's like you want to stick your mouth on a tailpipe. I mean, the guy's toxic. Stay away. It's bad for your health. Don't smoke that cigarette, man.
Now that you say that, Stan, I'm now sort of saying, if this guy is toxic, then you should tell him he's toxic. And maybe he'll think about it.
Well, not if he's bigger than you and he cracks you in the jaw. I mean, if you're looking, there's no need to, that's not necessary.
Say, look, I just don't have a good time working with you because I just, it's very uncomfortable.
If you feel the need, you don't have to give an answer, Denny. You can, but that's not required.
But then that person's never going to get any better.
It's not your job to fix them.
Yeah, but it's your job to save people from being abused by them.
Well, I think if somebody asks Denny, why didn't you take the show, then Denny can make a judgment whether he wants to tell that person. But I don't think they want to confront the director about their toxicity per se, unless there's an appropriate forum to do that.
I agree. Stan's right. Denny has no obligation to help this director. I mean, this is overthinking it. I turn down my mother's bean casserole all the time. I don't go in the kitchen and teach her how to make it a different way. I say, think about this. How many times have you said no to someone? Have you taken the time to explain why you're saying no to them? Of course not. And it might escalate it into a real conflict between the two of them. I think this isn't about a white lie or this is like I don't want a cup of tea today. So I don't want your stinking tea.
Okay,
I might want it tomorrow. Maybe the director will get better.
Probably not.
And who knows? I mean, we're only hearing Denny's point of view here.
Yeah, I got something to say because I just remembered something of the last time I actually said no. So I was asked first to do a project, new client. I send them a fee. They don't like it. Send them another fee. They still don't like it. Then they tell me that the client doesn't want to pay for me, and they kind of compliment me. So, well, you're really a high-priced guy, and you're for the creme de la creme projects, and this is a simple one. And I said, that's fine. Then a couple of weeks later, I get a call. Well, we would like to bring you on. It's going to be done by somebody else, and we would just like to have you review their work and redline it. That means critique it. So they make this offer of $5,000 to review somebody else's work. But they didn't want to hire me to do the work. And I'm thinking, do I really? I said, give me a couple of days to think about that because you're turning down money, right? And I was like, I thought about, is that how I want to work? Review somebody else's work and critique it when they didn't want to hire? And I thought, do I need the $5,000 that much? And I ended up saying, here's how I said no. Called back and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do this. It's not the way we like to work. When you have a project that fits the way we like to work, we would be happy to work with you. And they understood. They called Steve.
And he took the $5,000.
Did you get your $5,000? Charles in France. Oh, one of the countries I can't wait to visit. Do you see any problems with IP65 movers? I think they will be great in foggy rooms. So I did a little thinking about this just because I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. So I looked up some of the IP65 stuff. So just so everybody knows, I think we've talked about this before. IP is ingress protection, meaning keeping things out, not letting things in. That's what the IP stands for. And then there were two numbers. The first one, in this case, being the 6, and the second number being the 5. Well, there are 9 numbers for the first number. So the 6 means protected against powerful water jets. So let's just say in a foggy room, I think IP65's got you covered because there's no powerful water jets. And then the other number, or IP6, and then 65 for the second number is water protected in jets against the enclosure from any direction will have no harmful effects. So that thing is built to sort of really be out in a hurricane, right? And then it gets, and like the most intensive could be like IP 99, which is like protected against high pressure and temperature water jets. And then the second number, water protected at high pressure and temperature against the enclosure from any direction shall not have any harmful effects. So you can really go crazy. So SGM makes these fantastic moving lights, and other companies are doing it now that can sit in a hurricane. We use them in Florida in the theme parks, right? But that's a little bit more complicated because you have to let the moisture out. So you got to keep the stuff from getting in, and then you need a mechanism. I won't go into the details, but SGM has a white paper on it on how to let the moisture then escape the fixture. So that's got to be a two-way street. So he's asking, do I see any problems? Well, if it's rated IP65 in a foggy environment, I don't think you have a problem.
Well, I guess the question, do you see any problems with IP65? Why would you see a problem with it? What sort of problem could you have?
Oh yeah, maybe it's a mark. Maybe what's going on is people are marketing. Oh, you need IP65 if you're going to be using haze, or so they can pay a little extra money. So you don't know how the marketers use these. I mean, just to say this, these ratings that come out from standards organizations are important to level the playing field on products, but they're really also about commerce. So you're raising the bar with these ratings for people to make better product, but at the same time, certainly manufacturers use that as a marketing tactic.
But it also protects you as a consultant, because if it says it's IP65 and God forbid something should happen and someone gets electrocuted because there's some water in it or something like that, or it causes a fire, you said, hey.
Well, the consultant side's complicated because you don't want to increase a budget when it's unnecessary. and you don't want to spec something that's not going to get you, is not necessary, or vice versa, is more than they need. I've seen plenty of jobs where it's like, why did they put this in here? This is, this is way more than you need, or this is not enough. So that's a spectrum, of course, as well.
Charles, I'm going to save you massive amounts of embarrassment. Yeah, there's a problem with an IP65 fixture. So you're saying here, I've got some fog, and I don't want to have to take the thing apart to clean all the fog out of it. You can't just squirt some Windex on the lens and take care of it. So you're thinking, if water's not coming in, then the fog's not going to come in, and this is going to be so much easier, and even the fans are protected. What is the problem? The problem, my friend, is you. You will be the problem. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get your IP65 fixture, and you are going to open it up. And you're going to do a little regular maintenance on it, or you're going to open it up, and you're going to change out the gobo wheel. But you're going to open it up. And that's where the problem comes. Because all of a sudden what happens, that light is sealed. It has gaskets on board. It's like, the shade tree mechanic is opening up this thing to work on it or to change, even just harmlessly change gobos in it. And you have a risk of breaking those seals. But more importantly, that unit is going to be like a really nice watch. They pull a vacuum in that thing. There's a little port on the back of it to hook your vacuum pump up to it. So you're going to be the problem. As it comes from the manufacturer, it's a piece of art. It's wonderful. But as you start monkeying around with it, you're going to defeat the IP65 of it, and you are going to get into trouble. And actually, I don't know how much fog is destroying your light anyhow. And that wraps us back up to budget again. I don't know that you need an IP65 fixture. Now, it looks like every manufacturer on the planet is going there right now. So, this is probably a done deal in the next 3 or 4 years that they're all going to be this way. But I don't know what maintenance problems this is going to cause the small rental shop or the end user in the long run.
That's a good answer, Steve. I think, does he really need it? What you're saying, that everybody's going to start doing that, maybe there's a financial thing, and now you're going to have to send your light into the shop for maintenance or gobo change because you'll need special training to open and reclose these IP65 fixtures.
And you're going to pop them open at the concert. Better technology comes with a cost.
For sure. I mean, we have some Martin outdoor fixtures specified on a project right now, and they're going to be sitting on a bollard outdoors in the Florida sun and the Florida hurricanes. And I got Martin makes a really great outdoor architectural fixture. And it depends on what Charles is doing in France, but I agree with Steve. I kind of hinted at that, is you might not need it.
You're going to open that thing up, and you don't let a palmetto bug in. And then the next time there'll be a colony in there.
They have a dynamic gobo. Imagine that butter; he'd be flying around in there.
That's right. It was like the story that Neil Giampolis told of the fly on Simon Bolivar's nose, the projection.
Yeah, there you go.
Climbing up his nose.
There you go. You are listening to Light Talk, and today we be sponsored by
Weeby.
The Tonry Electric Company of West Virginia. Just over a year ago, we introduced the Juice Hose Junior, and the Never Trip Breaker. Before the pandemic. Back in season 1, we introduced the Juice Hose Junior, and the Never Trip Breaker. Well, today, the Tonry Electric Company of West Virginia is proud to present the Citispell focus tool. The name says it all. Citispell, the preferred focus tool of stage hands throughout Dixie. I own 3. 1 for school, 1 for home, and 1 for the car. The Citispell focus tool's main feature is as a bottle opener, because you never know when you're going to need a cold one. The Citispell focus tool will open craft, domestic, and all those uppity European beers with ease. Not only that, it also works with classic pull tab brews like Natural Ice Light, Michelob Ultra, and Milwaukee's Best. Why? Because you're a stagehand, my friend, and you don't want to break a nail, and you can't afford the good stuff. The sit-a-spell focus tool is unique in that its fixed position jaws fit all the nuts and bolts on every major lighting fixture, foreign and domestic. Just not very well. But that keeps the manufacturing costs low. So after an hour of slow, frustrating work, you're going to be ready for an icy brew. Did I mention it's also a bottle opener? As the sit-a-spell focus tool is made in the USA and is 100% US steel, it also functions as a circuit tester. Just touch it to the two bare wires, and if you get shocked, well, you know the dimmer is working. The sit-a-spell focus tool preferred for summer stock, rodeos, and state fair stagehands. So now, when all those Yankee stagehands can't open that bottle of Shiner, just say, well, bless your heart, and give them the sit-a-spell focus tool. The sit-a-spell focus tool shipping now for Mother's Day.
And now, back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those crazy ducks tells us that once again it's time for Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About is all about the future of high school theater curricula. Or should we still require typing home economics and PE? So Stan, what do you think about this? You came up with this great idea.
I just wanted to bring it up because does everybody know that for years we had this thing called STEM, which was science, technology, engineering, and math. And the arts people got all freaked out and said, where's the A? Where are the arts in all of this? And so now we have a thing going on, is a little bit of a movement called STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And there are some buildings being built around what I'm hearing it called is experiential learning, which is sort of what we do in the theater. We've been talking about that forever. Like, theater isn't theoretical. You have a theory, you have ideas, and you put them into practice, you apply it. And so schools are now starting to think about how do we create more collaborative environments and bake that into the curriculum where the science students, the engineering students, the art students, the math students are all working together, designing, innovating, creating, and then putting something together concrete for a public performance. And I happen to be just about embarking on a project like this, and I've been reading about some of these are in Texas, and STEAM centers are happening. So I'm wondering out loud if this is sort of a move toward a break with the past curriculum of the single drama teacher, the proscenium auditorium. We put on the school musical. The kids come after school, and they bang hammers and build flats and pull costumes. And this becomes a much more embedded, collaborative sort of high school experience. And we are engaging in one, and it's well-funded. And I'm getting people are sending me links to other ones that exist in other parts of the country. So I was wondering what you guys think about a shift to a more collaborative curriculum that's more inclusive, if you will, in this way.
You mean like high school in the 1950s?
How so, Steve?
Well, no, it sounds like we're going back to what we had.
Maybe so.
So, maybe that's all right. I think anytime arts can be on equal footing with the other disciplines inside your high school or middle school, I think that's important. A well-balanced education is what we need to be good citizens. We can specialize later. But goodness sakes, if you're excluding all this, then you have a problem. So I say, good job for people who are looking at the STEAM programs.
Yeah, something, Steve, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. It is a sort of step back. When I was in high school, we had a metal shop, we had an electric shop, we had an auto shop, we had a ceramic shop, we had a bunch of shops, and when we put on the production, the stuff that we learned in those shops came to bear right on the stage. And so maybe there is something, a little bit of a throwback, but I think this is going to be a 21st century version of that. In a situation like this, you can develop engineers who really have creativity and innovation because they'll be solving novel problems rather than just standard engineering issues. So we'll end up getting creative engineers because they're working in the arts in the STEAM center. I'm just visualizing a space where one day the science kids are in there learning about how to build the drone. And then the next day they're incorporating the drones into a drone light show. And there's a project. One day the welding class is in there building the platforms for the next production. One day they're I just think there's a lot of opportunity for the curriculum to actually drive the activities. And then there's a lot of learning that goes on. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Stan. You have to keep us informed on this project.
Yeah. The head of school for this project laid out this curriculum, but yet we were looking at a traditional proscenium high school auditorium. And I said, wait a minute, what you're doing architecturally is not matching what you're talking about.
Right.
So how do we sort of find the sweet spot to and logistically make that work? And I asked the simple question. I said, how many students will be involved in the STEAM Center? And the answer was 100%. And then I said, well, how many students do you have? And the answer was 700. Yeah. And I said, so you're going to have 700 able-bodied, smart, learning, excited kids that are going to be able to transform this space and design for this space from one type of event to another. How exciting is that? And I said, do you have a curricular framework yet? And I think they were caught a little flat-footed because, well, the building is going to do no, the building has to reflect the curriculum, right? And so I think when I said that, that's what got me the job.
Well,
it's like, okay,
you would think that would be the first thing they think about.
But that's not the case very often.
I know, which is horrible.
Well, I think they did think to utilize the activity of the teachers and the students as the human resource for the center, right? But they had designed, or they had, they were just thinking it had to be a proscenium. And I said, a proscenium can be created in a half a day. The walls for the frame are not structural. So yes, it's going to be some kind of a flexible space, but I think it's different when the curriculum is embedded in how the space transforms. And we'll see where it goes.
They're going to call it the STEAM Center?
Yes.
Okay, free advice. Do not call it the STEAM Center.
Really?
You don't even have to send me a check. It's a private school. You guys are going to call it the Sandbox. And everyone's going to come and participate at the Sandbox at different times with different projects. The STEAM Center. Ugh.
I think
that's how they get their funding.
I don't think you're getting that check because I think that decision's already been made.
He is now the father of 8,000 STEAM centers around the world.
Oh, they're gonna
and while we are struggling with our Social Security check, the Elon Musk of the STEAM Center, who's figured this out, will be Stan.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. I do think it's a great idea. I mean, and I think anytime things like this happen, there's going to be bumps in the road.
Yes,
and
of course.
it may take them a decade to figure it out.
Stan, when they send you the curriculum, please send me a copy. I'd like to see it.
Steve just admitted that it is a great idea, and in fact, I will say that it's not necessarily. This is not the first. There are other school districts in Texas, in fact, who have these. So this is a movement. This is not novel on this project. So, and I do think it will take time to iron out the bumps, but the concept I think is extremely exciting and I think it will be good for the country.
Okay. Well, Steve has the last question of the day.
Which is not good for the country. It is Troy in Alabama. And Troy writes, do you add a sandbag to your dance booms? Well, Troy, there's just a lot of information that's not in this question. So there's just a lot there.
How high are the booms?
How high are the booms? That's the first question.
Do they have bases?
I would say, let's assume you have kind of a standard dance boom, and we're going to say it's 18 feet high. I think more important than that sandbag is a tether to the grid. So if the thing does start to topple over, it may look like a horror movie, but it's not going to fall down and kill anybody. I haven't seen a sandbag on a boom in a long time. I was at a undisclosed non-union house in which I had 20-foot high booms, and the boys decided they needed to move a boom. I don't know for what reason, but they decided they were going to move it. So it was like 6 of them gathered around this boom, and they're all staring at it. And I said, I wouldn't touch that boom.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it. And they went, we know what we're doing.
Of course.
And so I walked out to the green room to get myself a refreshing beverage. And I heard someone scream, "Oh God." And I came back into the space, and it looked like a scene from Iwo Jima. There were 6 stagehands holding on for their lives, and this boom at about a 50-degree angle. And I walked up and said, "You boys got a problem here?" And they went, "Oh, no, we got it under control." It was all they could do to get it back vertical again. So absolutely, safety cable at the top. And if you're going to move it, man, disassemble it. Don't try to do that. I'm sorry. Stan, you were going to contribute to the sandbag on the boom idea?
Well, I think you guys covered it. You know, I think the tie off to the grid is right. It also maybe depends upon the type of booms. You know, sometimes I've seen people, depends on the kind of base you have. On tour, when we were at Production Arts, we put holes in the base and people lag bolted them into the deck. Sometimes we've used, back in poor summer stock days when we couldn't afford a sandbag, you know what we used to do? Here's a poor man's answer. We had lots of leftover lumber and we had old inner tubes. And we cut the inner tube, and then we take 2 pieces of 1x3 and clamp it on one end. Then we go out to the beach. We'd fill up the inner tube with sand, and then take 2 more pieces of 1x3 and screw them together and close it up. And it was curved like a half donut. And we'd set that on the boom stands. There was a good, cheap way to do it. But I think, you know, securing booms, good idea. You know, the joist, Steve has worked at the joist. I work at the joist. Those booms were like, I don't know, 20 feet tall. We used to, at PA, we would always thread the top of a pipe, and we had a coupler with a welded ring on top of it. And then you would screw that sucker on and then put a rope on it and take it up so that was not going to fall and kill anybody. So yeah, it's something to take seriously. And there's a couple of ideas for you.
I do have a boom story to tell. I was doing a show once in a Western city. I will not identify the city. And I was the assistant on the show. It was for Neil Giampoulos. And I showed up just in time for the coffee break. And I wanted to introduce myself to the crew. And I walk over and I see the crew, and they're all gathered around a boom that is lying on its back on 2 sawhorses. And that's how they used to hang lights on booms. They'd have the boom down, and they'd have the side arms, and they would, put the lights on when they're, working height. And then eventually they'd tie it up, to the grid, and they'd pull it up.
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
They're all hanging around there, and it was coffee break. So I, walk across the stage, this huge opera house stage, and I go up to them, and I get close to them, and there are about 6 of them around. They're electricians, and I find out that they're cutting cocaine on the lens of a light.
Oh.
And this was their coffee break.
Whoa.
So I just said hello, and it's good to be there, and I got off stage really fast. And this is the same exact crew that dropped a stage weight from the loading rail and basically took someone's shoulder off.
Ooh.
This is not a nice way to end the show today.
And that is not the Alice Cooper quote.
Did the Alice Cooper quote get said? Because I didn't catch it.
Well, it did get said.
Well, no shot glass for you.
No shot glasses for you,
and
son.
I haven't got a shot glass, truthfully, I have to say.
Try again in 1 year. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again you've spent another morning listening to these 3 crazy Lumen Brothers. That's what we're called.
That's what we're called, yes.
You can hear our show on Spotify, iTunes, Google, YouTube, livedesignonline.com, Amazon Prime Music, and just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website on lighttalk.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk Insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
I just want to say thanks for having me back. I'm having a good time. But if you decide to litigate, the law firm Reflect, Flock, Flair, and Claire and their paralegal snoot will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Lone Star State.
And be sure to join us next week when we chat about even more useless things and explore the crazy shenanigans in our industry.
Light Talk, we are broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and a little bit of humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
So long, all.